Before me opens the heart of the former East German Ministry for State Security, the Stasi. I've come to find out more about the work of the federal office charged with administering the Stasi files and documents. "20 years ago, thousands of East Germans stormed the main Stasi offices in Berlin in order to stop the destruction of personal files. Laws have been passed allowing everyone with a Stasi file to see it. Rupert Karus, the head of the Central Register of Names, shows me how the search begins. He explains that it starts with an application from someone seeking information about their file. The information department sends it to the archive, where the index search takes place. He says this index here is the biggest and most important one the office has. It's where the initial search takes place, where they see if there's even an index card with the applicant's name. This applicant is named Reinhard Stoller. He tried to flee to the former Yugoslavia via Hungary in 1982, but was caught. Rupert Karus says there are two entries for this man. One indicates an index card at the former Stasi office in Halle, and the other is a registry number that leads to another index card search, which will give Karus the archive call number with which he can find the file in question.
The
search for the Stoller file is underway. Along with paper documents, the archive also has millions of photographs and videotapes that were collected here at the Stasi's main headquarters. Silvia Oberhach is the head of the Photo and Film Archive. She explains the huge complex. She indicates the archive, saying that we're at the entrance. Then she indicates diagonally across the courtyard, saying that's where the former offices of Stasi head Erich Mielke were. It was Mielke who created the East German system of complete observation of the country's citizens. Silvia Oberhach explains that Germany is in a unique position when it comes to preserving Secret Service documents after the service was disbanded. None of the other Eastern Bloc countries has as complete a record of Secret Service activities.
Hat kein anderes Land. Also das haben wir wirklich nur in Deutschland.
10:45
Staatssicherheit, guten Tag. Ja, schönen guten Tag, das Küsselinstein Sieger, Chatkammer Herrn Blass gesprochen.
That material includes thousands of recordings of phone calls yet to be logged. Archivist Christiane Bruns spends hours each day listening to taped conversations. She says that the people who knew the Stasi were listening had their radios or televisions turned up loud, which makes it difficult to hear what's said. But she says there are things like surveillance of prison cells that are totally clear. Last year, some 100,000 people applied to see their files. Reinhard Stoller's documents and some photos have been found, but no one has looked at them yet. But before I continue with the Stoller file, I'm going to meet with the woman in charge, the Federal Commissioner for the Stasi Archives. When East Germany still existed, Marianne Bertler was involved in several opposition groups and was herself spied on by the Stasi. She says these shelves hold indications of how many files were destroyed, empty file folders. She says the Stasi tried to destroy as many files as they could, through shredding, burning or tearing them up. They took them out of the folders, which now remain. She says they don't know if they can reconstruct the papers that had been inside. They could be in the thousands of sacks of torn paper. I can hardly believe it. 15,500 sacks full of bits of paper. I asked Marianne Bertler whether it's still worth unearthing this archive's secrets 20 years later. She replies that in a lot of other countries, it takes at least an entire generation before such things are publicly discussed. It was the case in Germany after 1945, and Spain is only now starting to talk about the Franco regime. It's unusual that Germany started so early, and she doesn't think the interest will ebb soon. It really only starts after 20 years, and there will always be new questions. I go to the office's headquarters in central Berlin, where the files are opened for the first time. Not by the applicants, but by employees of the information department, like Vera Iborg. She reads photocopies of the files, blacking out parts that don't have to do directly with the applicant. It gives her a peek into thousands of lives in East Germany. She says she's often surprised by what people are capable of, denouncing others, making false accusations, and that the Stasi, of course, then use that information to interfere in the lives of individuals, whether it was imprisoning them, ending or hindering their professional careers, sowing discord in families. She says it's always surprising to her that people are like that. I finally get to meet Reinhard Stoller. He's been reading his file for the past hour. But this look into his past doesn't seem to awaken any great emotion. He reads his sentence calmly. On May the 24th, 1982, he reads, Citizen Dr. Reinhard Stoller was sentenced to 1 year and 8 months in prison by the Halle District Court for an attempted illegal border crossing, pursuant to paragraph 213, sections 2 and 4 of the Criminal Code. He says there are also apparently letters sent to him while in pre-trial custody, and perhaps some he wrote himself. Stoller, a chemist, also learns that his parents' house was searched and his family questioned. After his trip to Hungary, his entire life in East Germany was closely observed and recorded. Then he discovers something else. The train tickets from the trip to Hungary. Deutsche Reichsbahn. Kuponaya Knischka. I ask him what it's like to see his file after all these years. Stoller says it's a bit like reading a book you first read 25 years ago, and he's not very emotional about it. But he allows it is possible there could be something in the pages he hasn't seen yet. At the moment, it's more like just reminiscing about the past. He hopes he doesn't read anything upsetting about people with whom he had, or still has, close relationships. And he admits that fear is why he avoided doing this for so long. I've learned that not every viewing of a file brings important new insights, but each time it sheds new light on the past, 20 years after the storming of Stasi headquarters.